Are we headed towards another real estate crash? So currently, we are experiencing a lot of mortgage companies coming out with 0% or no money down programs. What does that mean in reference to 2008 or prior to 2008 real estate crash? Not a whole lot, right? Meaning in 2008, there were a lot of down payment assistance programs or 100% financing, zero money down programs, right? The difference between now and then is there was a couple things. There was an oversupply of inventory for one thing that helped contribute to the crash. Number two was that the 0% down or no money down was a little bit different, right? I remember you could get have a 580 credit score and get an 80/20 on a primary residence, which meant you had two mortgages. 80% of the mortgage was a first, and then there was a second that was 20% of the other 20%. So that's how you were able to come with no money down. Then there was ways where you could roll in 5, 6% of the closing costs, so you legitimately didn't really have to bring much to the table, or the seller had the ability to contribute up to 6%, 3% of the closing costs for the buyer. So there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of videos out there pertaining to the crash is similar to 2008. Oh, these 0% down programs are going to take us to a real estate crash. And in my opinion, my feedback is I don't necessarily see it being because of 0% down. The buyer having the ability to come to the table with no down payment. The buyer having the ability to come to the table with no down payment, is no different than a person utilizing a down payment assistance program. A lot of people are referring to the 0% down payment that a mortgage company is providing, where they'll give you up to $15,000 as a mortgage. As a down payment. Housing price can't exceed 350, and they will allow for you to not have to make payments on that 15 up to $15,000, while you're paying for the home, or while or you can make payments as you go along. I did a video on that particular program probably about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it's just another way for them to figure out how to help people get into homes and become homeowners. I think there's a lot of speculation, fear mongering. I guess from the lender standpoint, from the lender standpoint, I see where they could be, could have some valid points. However, when you're looking to purchase a home, I really don't see where it's going to get any cheaper over time unless there is a crash. I don't see any signs pointing to a crash. But again, I'm not an economist. I've been in this game for 20 years, and I think that you should buy a house. Maybe I'm biased. I think that the cheapest time to buy a house was yesterday. The best time to buy a house was yesterday. And it could be very well as an investment. So if you can afford to purchase a home, if you can afford to purchase a home now and the affordability of the home, then by all means, I would purchase a home. If you can afford to buy a home, I never push anyone to buy a home if they can't afford it. Um, so when you're looking to purchase a home, just make sure you have the opportunity to sit down and speak with a lender, and make sure that you set up a game plan. A couple of things I want you to take heed. I want you to understand that because you qualify for a $500,000 house, does not mean that you can necessarily afford the $500,000 house. See, we take it off of your gross payments, of your gross income, and you guys see your net. And a lot of times people want to qualify for these expensive homes, but they don't want the mortgage to equate to it. So if you're looking at a $500,000 house, or you want a $500,000 house, a 50, 60, or $70,000 a year salary, whether it's single or combined, is not going to get it. So yeah, that may be what you want, but let's remember, guys, there's an opportunity for you guys to potentially get starter homes. Starter homes aren't that bad, and I think we've forgotten, about starter homes. Great to say you got a 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath, 2 car garage sitting on an acre, all brick house. That's great to say, but that's not your traditional starter home. Your traditional starter home is something a little smaller or something a little bit more affordable. And as you gain equity in that, able to pay down debt from utilizing that starter home, then after a while of being in that home and living in that home, you have the ability to scale up and then get the more expensive home, the larger home, the home where could be your final home or could be your step up home. Because I think there's three ways. So you've got the starter home, you got the home of your dreams, and then when you get older, the kids are gone. Hopefully they're gone. Then you have the home where you move down because you don't need the 2 stories, you don't need the big house, you just need something for you or you and your spouse. So there's 3 steps of progression. And I think that guys, don't be afraid to buy the ugliest house on the nicest block. Having the ability to build equity in a home over time, to be able to pay down debt because you have a little bit discretionary funds because it's not all into a house, definitely helps you. And if you don't qualify now, don't be discouraged. There's things that you can do to get in position to purchase a home. So don't be discouraged if you don't qualify. Just make sure you execute on the plan and allow for it to work things out. Hi, I'm Kevin Jefferson, the People's Lender, and we are discussing. I'm answering any questions that you have pertaining to home ownership. Please ask your questions, but I want to make sure I started out talking about a ton of videos out here about, is the market going to crash? Again, that's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but I just want to give you the facts that I've learned over the course of years and that I see right now during the market. That 0% down now versus 2005 through 8 are totally different. Credit score requirements are different. Leniency of the of the programs are a little higher. So definitely ask your questions. If you have questions, drop the questions in the chat, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. If you're out there watching and you have questions, don't be afraid to drop them in the chat. Another thing is, if you're watching it, we've got 10 people watching. Give us a thumbs up. We should have 10 thumbs up because we got 10 people watching, 10 likes. And if you have not subscribed to the channel and would like to receive notifications, definitely do me a great service and hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when we go live or put out videos. So Christine, I see you back. Welcome. And I want to start answering your questions. Is there more funding for 55 plus first time home buyers? No, not necessarily. If there was a bracket on home ownership or on age limits, then that would be something considered like age discrimination, whether it's discrimination against older people, discrimination against younger people. There are communities that only allow 55-year-olds or plus, but in terms of being more funding for a 55-year-old versus a 45-year-old, nah, there's not really a such thing. If you qualify, you qualify. There's no age restriction other than needing to be at least 18 of legal age to be able to purchase a home. Um, Thank you for ordering my book off of Amazon. I hope it is helpful to you. I appreciate the support. Seeing a lot of 55 plus communities popping up. Yeah, there are, a lot of 55 plus communities popping up nationwide. You know, restrictions, with those 55 plus communities that they're putting up. There's restrictions on who can stay there, the age of the person staying there. If grandkids or family coming to stay, they can only stay for a certain amount of years. Um, I think they're coming up because it's geared towards that age group who may not have little kids anymore. And then that's a community of people. And then those communities most likely will have things in that community that gear around what, 55 plus, want to play, shuffleboard, pickleball, a community center where they can do bingo and bingo nights and different things. So, and then just kind of restriction for those people who want to live in something new or nice, but they don't want to be around a bunch of yelling kids and stuff in the community. So I think that's why we're starting to see them pop up. Yeah, the 55 plus community, that doesn't mean you just have to be 55 to live there. They've got restrictions on who can stay, how long they can stay, how old you can be to get into one. So I would definitely go check. I would go and Christine, I would go and check in that community and just kind of see what the bylaws are and see if it's anything that you're even interested in, because it does have a lot of restrictions, especially if you have grandkids that you want to see or soon to have grandkids that you want to see. What's going on, third degree burns? Hey Blair, how are you? Um, Happy Sunday. If an appraisal and inspection are done right away, what causes a closing to take 30 days? That's an amazing question, Blair. So typically, the home inspection comes first. And once the home inspection is clear during your due diligence time, then we send out disclosures, which you sign, meaning we're going to continue. We would like to proceed with the purchase of this home. The appraisal is done up front so you can see what the value of the home is. Then from that point, the rest of the time is underwriting and processing. The processor gathering all of your documents in order to, update your documents from where the lender has gotten them. Maybe the pay stubs are outdated, maybe the W-2s are outdated depending on when you're buying. Bank statements are outdated, and there may be a few missing things like the 401k showing where the funds you're going to use to close are outdated as well. So the processor gets updated documents. They have to review those documents before they submit them to underwriting, and then they submit it to underwriting. So when they're submitted to underwriting, there's different turn times. You have some companies that have 48-hour turn times, or some company that have 72-hour turn times. If you're purchasing in the summer, turn times are a little bit higher or longer, simply because there's more people in the market looking to purchase. And what the underwriter has to do is review everything on your pay stub, everything on your bank statements, every line on your bank statements, comb through and make sure there's no deposits that have gone in that shouldn't be there, no money that they have questions about. And if they do, they take it out. It comes out of underwriting. They send it to you, and then send it to the processor. Then they ask you, okay, what is this $5,000 deposit that we see in your account? Not only that, they have to verify your employment. They send, even though you submitted your W-2s and your pay stubs, they have to do something called a verification of employment. You may see it called a VOE. And basically what they do is they reach out to whoever your employer is and they ask him, hey, does Blair McElroy work here? How long has she worked here? Is she likely to continue to work here? What is her salary from 2022, 2023, and year to date 2024? That's when this video was done, right? and then we verify the income that you're receiving on your pay stubs versus what they say you're getting. So that has to be done. The employer doesn't necessarily get back to the companies right away. Sometimes we have to get the borrower to go in or reach out to their human resources and say, hey, I'm purchasing a home. My mortgage company has reached out to you. Can you please respond to them with the verification of employment because it's delaying me purchasing a home? So once that happens, it goes in, we get that gets underwritten, your updated documents get underwritten, and then so does the appraisal. If there's anything that they have questions about on the appraisal, then they reach out to the appraiser and get the questions asked. Let's say the appraisal was done, it came in at value or greater. However, there was repairs that needed to be done. Then the buyer's agent reaches out to the listing agent and the seller and say, hey, XYZ items need to be repaired. How do we continue? Because of that, the seller has a few days that they need it, that they can respond. And if they decide, yes, we'll make those repairs, then you have the repair person who has to come out and give an estimate and do the work. So every day that these items and things are going on, that's a day that we lose. So while the appraisal stuff was done up front, there's still back end things that have to be worked on. Once the repairs are made, then we have to call the appraiser to come back and verify that those items were done. Once those items are done, all of that information goes back to the underwriter, and if they're not requiring anything else, he or she can approve the loan. So once they approve the loan, it's called a clear to close. You'll typically see an email that says CTC, which means clear to close. Once there's a clear to close, there's still work to do. Now, the mortgage company's closing department has to do something called a CD balance, which means they have to prepare the accurate numbers along with the title company or attorney's office to make sure they give the buyer the accurate funds that they need to come to closing. And that doesn't necessarily, when I say accurate, I mean they go down to the penny. I've seen them negotiate and say, hey, we're 10 cents off. Where is this 10 cent coming from? And they want to make sure that they're not getting any more or any less from the buyer that's required. So Blair, that's what takes the 30 days. Sometimes it can happen faster. And so while I would love to close as fast as possible, right, in terms of with deals, sometimes when you go fast, there's a lot of mistakes that are made, and then everybody's upset and said, well, if you knew it should have taken long, you should have said something. So, I request 30 days. If we can go faster, we do. If we can't, at least we have the 30 days. And then sometimes it's beyond your control, my control, or anybody's control of the process. We have to get additional time because the verification of employment didn't come back. The repairs were tedious and they did not get an opportunity to get the repairs done in a timely fashion. The value didn't come back, and the seller wants to appeal the value because they think their house is worth $350 and it came in at $325. So all of those things could potentially slow up the process. But I mean, there you can close fast, and I know people who close fast, and we do sometimes, but it's heck on the back end because there's a lot of things that typically get missed, or you have to go back to the buyer and get. But it is possible. But 30 days, a month goes by quickly. Hopefully that answered your question. No problem, Blair. Not Blair. No problem, Christine. Yeah, definitely reach out to me and get on my schedule for an appointment to discuss, questions you have pertaining to home ownership and seeing how we can get you in position to purchase a home. Again, guys, I'm answering any questions that you have pertaining to home ownership. I've discussed, in the beginning of this session, if you're just joining, I discussed, is there another real estate crash on the way? I gave my synopsis of why people are saying that 0% mortgages are going to contribute to the real estate crash. I gave you a comparison of now 0% down programs versus back in the early 2000s. So definitely go back if you're just joining. Go back and listen to the beginning of this video. And again, if you guys are out there, do me a huge favor, like the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. While we're doing this, I also have have a Facebook group that if you're not a part of Facebook group, we're pretty interactive. And if you're on here and you're in the Facebook group, I see that a lot of you guys see my post, but not a lot of people reply to it. So if you could contribute, get some feedback, get things going. And the other thing is, if you know someone that's looking to purchase a home and you think they could benefit from being in our Facebook group, do me a huge favor and invite them into our Facebook group so we can help it grow and help each other grow. Last week on Winning Wednesday, we had some success stories where people were paying down on credit. They had not purchased some things, they paid down some debt. Last month or so, we've had people close under contract. So we've had a lot of success in that group. Also, we have a free newsletter that you can join. The link will be below. You just click on it. By clicking on that, you'll get a free first-time homebuyers guide, not the journal, but you get a free first-time homebuyers guide that you can download, and then that will connect you with our newsletter. We put the newsletter out like twice a week. We try to put it out twice a week, and it always has information pertaining to home ownership, or if you missed a live or a video. Or if a video or a live's coming out, we give you notification ahead of time. Christine, can a home buyer request upgrades like new carpet? You can, but it's up to the seller whether they want to accept it or not. The seller doesn't have to accept it. And, if they put new carpet in that you want and you can't get funding for the house, then they've wasted money. Painting and new doors, you can request those things, but they don't necessarily have to appease it. And I wouldn't be upset if they don't, because they're spending money ahead of time. They're spending the money ahead of time. So, just don't be concerned if you don't have the ability to get new doors or windows or updates. Those things that you mentioned, you could potentially ask for yourself, or the seller may give you credit. So you can always ask. They don't have to say yes, whether they're selling their house or not, or if it just needs it, they don't have to do it. To them, the carpet might be fine. That's why they were, living with it for all that time. Crystal Williams, how you doing, Miss Crystal? I'm not a first-time home buyer. Are there any grants for those who are not first-time home buyers? There's programs that have not that you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. So to answer your question, yes, it just kind of all depends. There's grants that are for people who fit into a certain box in terms of income-wise and location-wise. There are down payment assistance programs where it's not necessarily a grant. However, it is a second loan. It helps you save some money, and there's not an income requirement or a first-time home buyer requirement needed to meet that criteria. And then, Crystal, depending on how long it's been since you've owned a home, a lot of states, what's considered a first-time home buyer is someone who has not had ownership interest in a property in the last 3 years. So if you sold your home in June 30th of 2021, and it's June 30th of 2024, you meet that 3 years criteria. So it just kind of depends on which state. Crystal, the newsletter is sent via email, not Facebook. My admin put the link to the guide in the comments. So there are two different things. The Facebook group is where we interact and communicate with each other. We post like 5 times a week. The newsletter goes out twice a week to your email. It goes to your email, and you have the ability to open it up. No problem, Crystal. Good luck with, finding those programs. We do have them. So if you have any questions pertaining to the grants or programs to see if you qualify, the link to schedule a call with me will be below. Definitely reach out to me. Let me know how I can help. I'm always here to help, never to hurt. Again, guys, if you have any questions pertaining to home ownership or the home ownership process, definitely let me know. Another thing about the real estate market currently, we have not seen the 3 interest rate cuts that the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has said that they were going to make during the course of the year. So those projections are just projections that they think that they're going to do. The economy, inflation, and everything, bonds that pertain to all that information, the job market, all depends upon hitting certain numbers in order to see cuts. When the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates, it initially affects student loans, credit cards, home equity lines of credit, car loans, and things like that. And then it kind of bounces over to mortgage rates. We see a change in mortgage rates, and little things affect those things. Like the other day, the debate on Thursday. I didn't watch it, and this is not a political show, but the debate, whatever went on, a debacle on either side, we saw an increase in interest rates on Friday multiple times. So I didn't lock anyone on Friday. We'll see what this week brings. Over the weekend, things have cooled down. So any little thing can affect the market. They can affect the student loans. I mean, not student loans. They can affect the interest rates. And then, the student loan, being forgiven is also something that's a big topic as well. People getting student loans forgiven and not having to have a payment then allows for someone to have more buying power. So if you have $100,000 student loan debt, let's say you pay $400 a month and your student loans are forgiven, then we no longer have to count that $400 a month payment, and that's $400 more a month that you have to for buying power. Let me see. With FHA, is there a maximum that a seller can contribute towards closing? Yes, Blair. The maximum a seller can contribute to closing costs for a buyer is 6% of the sales price. So on a $200,000 home, the seller can only contribute up to $12,000 of their closing costs, which is a lot of money for a $200,000 house. And then just remember that if they contribute $12,000, the house definitely has to appraise so they can get their money, because those $12,000 are coming from their proceeds. And since we're discussing it, on VA loans, they can contribute up to 4% in terms of closing cost assistance, but seller's contribution, which is something different, they could potentially pay off a bill for you, which would allow for their contribution total to exceed the 4%. On conventional financing for primary residence, the seller's allowed, if you're putting down less than 10%, the seller's allowed to contribute 3%. If you're putting down 10% or greater on a down payment, the seller has the ability to contribute up to 6%. And then on USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, rural loans, the seller has the ability to contribute up to 6% as well. And just to clarify something, because I ran into this, if the seller has the ability to contribute to the closing costs, If there's money left over, no, that can't go towards the down payment. In no way can the seller contribute to your down payment unless the seller is a family member, and then that's a different ball of wax. So hopefully that answered your question, Blair. Hey guys, so I have this book, this journal, Homeownership Journal. It allows for you to journal your entire process from A to Z, from when I pull credit to when you interview realtors, interview lenders, have questions about homes. I've been seeing a lot of my clients now, more clients with this book, saying that it worked for them because they don't have to try to remember everything in the house. They took it with them from house to house, and they took notes as they went along. They took notes when they were talking about a specific property and they had the questions from their realtor. I had a few of them who had it with them when they had their consultation with me. This book right here, the Amazon link will be below. The hardback is $29.99. This book here, the paperback, is $19.99, and it's well worth it. It's 90 pages of information. That documents anything from budgets to things you need to repair on your credit, to even information in the back where you can take notes, or about your utilities. So this page right here lets you know, hey, who my utility companies are, my HOA, the phone numbers, and all of that information that you can store. So this isn't something you get rid of. Even after you've purchased a home, you keep it in case you try to remember, or your family members need to figure out, hey, who did mom or dad have, or who did my husband have for utilities, or hey, I can't remember because I don't talk to him much. Who's in charge of the HOA and what's the phone number? All this information is here. And then it just gives you, you can actually look back in there and say, hey, these are the steps that I took when I was purchasing a home 10 years ago. I wonder what's changed, and just kind of compare. And if you have room in the book left over when you go to buy that second or third home, you definitely can continue taking notes. Again, the link below for this journal will be below. I'll appreciate it in advance for you purchasing it. Tongue tied tonight. All right. And again, if you guys have any questions pertaining to home ownership, definitely drop your questions below. Another thing I want to talk about is what I've been seeing, until you guys ask some more questions. One of the biggest culprits of hindering people from purchasing homes, even when they have the credit score and they have the money for down payment and closing costs, they don't have the debt to income ratio in line because they have too many cars and their car payments are high and they have a lot of debt. So for instance, if you purchased a car and you have a car for yourself, right? And you purchase because you have the better credit, and you purchased a car for a child, a parent, and you know that even though they make the payments, but their name is not on it, and you want to purchase a home and get rid of some of that debt, what you should do now is to get with that person whose car it is and work on getting them in position to refinance the car into their name so you can get that off of your debt to income ratio. Multiple car payments, car payments aren't cheap. And if you don't have, if you don't have two incomes or a two income household and you have multiple vehicles, you want to get as much debt off of you as possible. So you want to make sure that, okay, I co-signed for mom. I need to get her off of this car off my credit. Start the process of seeing what you need to do to refinance or get their credit in position so they can refinance and get that car into their name and out of yours so you can qualify for more, and not that you did a good deed for somebody and it's hindering you. It's hindering you from, being able to become a homeowner. Can the amount change on my pre-approval get a higher paying career? Yes. So example, let's say you make $70,000 a year and you get a new job making 85. We're going to go off of the income that you currently make or going to be making. So your pre-approval can change if you pre-approvals can change if you increase income. Pre-approval can change if income decreases, if debt increases or decreases. So yes, your pre-approval can change. That's why we always try to get the most recent documentation just to make sure we're giving you the most accurate income. And again, it can increase if you get a new job or switch careers. You don't have to be in that career for 2 years in order to qualify. You don't have to be on that job for 2 years in order to qualify. We just need an offer letter or some pay stubs showing what your new income is so we can do the verification of employment again as well. And then we can see how much we can get you qualified for, how much more we can get you qualified for. So that's a great question, Christine. Um, alongside with car payments, we're seeing where you're in a two household income, and in order to qualify or use both incomes, both people have to qualify. You can't, one person who has the qualifications can't use the other person's income. So on this journey, if you have a spouse or a loved one or someone that you want to purchase the home with, you have to make sure both of you or all of you are in position to purchase, because if not, then it's going to hinder you. If you have multiple jobs and you live like you have multiple jobs and you spend all of your debt, spend all of your money, you need to make sure that you've been on your jobs for at least 2 years simultaneously for both of them, because that's the only way you're going to be able to qualify. And I do want to just kind of give some advice. Because you have two jobs and you have two incomes coming in, doesn't mean you need two incomes worth of debt. The purpose of having a second job is not so you could buy more things, it's to give you some more freedom and hopefully pay down some debt. The caveat to that is it also helps you save money. But if you're working two jobs and it's not just because you need to survive or to live, but it'll afford you a different type of lifestyle, I would kind of reevaluate that and see what you can do to cut out on some debt. Because who wants to spend all of their life working, 80 hours a week, 160 hours every 2 weeks just to keep up a lifestyle that's, you're not getting an opportunity to enjoy. What's going on, Mr. Al? Agents haven't seemed to have any adjustments as far as addressing my new fee agreements up front. Seems to be business as it has been. Got you. Yeah, I mean, you deal. New York is different. New York rules and real estate is different than a lot of states. In New York, the buyer has an attorney representing them, the seller has an attorney representing them, and then you both have agents representing you as well. If just kind of reiterate to your agent, hey, I need to have some changes on this, or we need to address a few items to make this work for me. So keep pushing along, Mr. Al. It'll come together for you, man. So guys, kind of resetting the room. If you're just joining us live, do me a huge favor and give this live a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe notification button so you get notified. So you can get notified of new releases of videos or when we're going live. It says, wow, I didn't realize we both have to qualify to use his income. Yeah, you do. You can't utilize someone else's income. And I'll get to your question, Blair. I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button. You can't utilize someone else's income and they're not on the loan. And once you do it, you're using the person's income and debt. So if it's two of you, you both need to be in position to purchase a home and qualify for the home as well. Any feedback on mortgage brokers? I'm a mortgage broker. I went from the retail side to the mortgage broker side because I have the ability to have more loan options for borrowers. I can also potentially shop and see who offers the better rate. And sometimes not always the better rate, the faster time in closing, kind of like Blair alluded to earlier. Hey, why does it take 30 days? If we need to close faster, I need to be able to place my buyer with a broker who has the ability to still have comparable fees and interest rates, but also have the ability to speed up the process so we can get through. So I did retail for most of my career. The last, you know, 7 to 8 months, I've been a broker, and I've been able to help, clients with, better rates, or not even necessarily better rates, some of the fees being less than a retail shop. So, I'll definitely use a broker. We have the opportunity to, hey, Sabu, you got to slow down on the questions, man. I want to finish answering people's questions thoroughly so they have a good understanding. When they pop up on the screen, it distracts me. So, brokers allow for you to shop around without having your credit pulled multiple times. So if you're looking around, obviously I'm gonna say, hey, go to broker and then allow for me to shop around. But if so, maybe look at a bank, a broker, and a credit union and see who offers you the best deal. Does the DTI take the current taxes into consideration when calculating the mortgage payment, or do they use the mortgage payment with the taxes that you will be purchasing the home? Great question, Blair. They use the taxes for the that you're going to be using when you purchase the home. So for me, I always try to do my due diligence and research what taxes are, and I go a little higher because somebody may have an exemption. They may have an exemption, so you may not qualify for it, but they're going to use the taxes that you'll be paying. And with that being said, that's why sometimes you don't get the accurate numbers until the end, because the title company has what those taxes are, the mortgage company doesn't, because they do the research and find out what the tax rate and the taxes are for that property, as opposed to the actual lender doing it. That's why we hear somebody say, hey, this is an estimate, and you'll find out at the end that's because that's when they start to go back and balance the CD and make sure all the numbers are right. So hopefully that answered your question as well, Blair. In the terms of new seller paying the buyer's agent's fee based on the new rule. So cool. Al, that rule was initially to go into place on July 1st, and they have pushed it back to August the 17th. So a lot of agents are getting into the space of getting that document signed so they can keep a loyal buyer, and also cover themselves, making sure they get compensated. But in terms of right now, that new rule doesn't take place until August the 17th, as opposed to July 1st, which would be tomorrow. What's something that people should look for that is not found in standard inspections? I don't do inspections. I don't even see the inspection. We only see the repairs on an appraisal. But what I do know from experience is making sure the utilities are on if the house is vacant. Common sense, but if the appraiser comes out or the inspector comes out, they want to make sure things are, the electrical's working and all that. And sometimes the utilities aren't on, or they're on, but they conserve money. The breaker box is off. So those are things that I see that sounds, like it makes sense, but a lot of times it affects the ability to the ability to do the home inspection accurately because the utilities aren't on. And if they're not on and it's a foreclosure or something and the seller's not willing to get it cut on, then you and your agent need to check in how long it is to get those temporarily cut on so you can do your inspection. Those are some things to look for. Definitely seems to provide more options with a broker. Yeah, that we do provide more options. You know, more abilities, more not necessarily more flexibility. So, example, if you have a deal that's going on, and we thought we could get it through with one company that we broker to, and we have an hiccup, we can research and see, hey, this is the scenario we ran into. Can you guys close this? And this is the amount of time we have. They could say yay or nay. If it's with a retail broker and they have that same issue and they can't close it, they may not have the option to broker it. So then you have to switch it to a different company. Similar things, but we can still move a little faster. Or if they don't broker, then they say, you're dead. Your deal is just dead in the water, and then you have to find, or your agent has to find another company that can actually do the deal for you, and it may take time going back to the seller to get an extension. So those are options that brokers can offer for you. I was surprised that new construction doesn't mean no issues in the house. No, it's still being built by humans. They're trying to get it done as fast as possible. They go through the inspections in terms of, you definitely want to make sure you get a home inspection, even if it's new construction, even if, once it's done, even though they get their inspections with the counties, there's still imperfections and things that have to be addressed. And when you're building fast, as well as, cookie cutter, or you have an abundance of homes and have to meet, they're going to make mistakes. And if they're not being looked at accurately, you go through the house with the blue tape and you find issues. Even though something passed inspection, it may be up to code, but it's not done right. So yeah, even new construction has issues. They have issues now, they have issues later. We've got a friend brought new construction less than a month ago, and they've got to tear into her walls in order to fix some issues. So new construction can have problems just like existing homes as well. Can a seller change their mind, decide not to sell a house after a contract is signed? Thank you for answering all my questions. No problem, Blair. No problem. That's what I'm here for. Yes, seller can change their mind after signing a contract. There are parameters that they have to adhere to. They just can't. They just can't decide to back out because they want to, without some type of repercussion. So if they decide to back out, I mean, you have the ability to go after them for something called specific performance, meaning they need, just like you have to perform in the contract and hit certain dates and get the closing, or have a reason why you can't close, the seller's obligated to the same thing. So that's definitely a good question as well. Does home inspection also check on? Yep, home inspectors, they typically check the roof, electrical work, windows, functionality of the windows, flooring, if it's on crawl space underneath the house. They look at the foundation. They check the appliances, HVAC. They go in the attic if it has an attic. They go in the basement if it's in the basement. So they check all of those things thoroughly to make sure. Home inspector is typically they're going to check everything from A to Z, and they're even going to acknowledge, hey, the doorknob in the master bedroom is loose. Is that a major defect? No. Screwdriver, tighten it up, we'll do it. But they just make sure that they overly check, and then they check the plumbing as well. If you're in an area that has septic systems, then you get septic inspections to make sure they're working functionally. And then you get a well test to test the water and the water quality as well. Each seller is different, Christine. Are they locked in on price? Each seller is different. They have the ability. They know what they need. You know, they have the ability to stay hard and fast on what they're looking for. So I say the property is listed at 300,000. You offer 285. They can say no. If there's a multiple offer situation and you offer 300,000 and they say no, highest and best, that's because they may have multiple offers at 300,000 with similar terms. So they want to see who's willing to go up. And going up doesn't necessarily mean going up in price. That could mean a faster closing, a larger deposit for the earnest money deposit. So those things are highest and best. When they say highest and best terms, it could be that you offered 300,000, which was the listing price, and you asked for $6,000 in closing cost assistance. Removing the closing cost assistance may be your highest and best. So, but locking in on price, they could, or as long as you come close or there are terms that the seller needs, you have the ability to negotiate and ask for what, offer what you want, and they can accept what they want. Sometimes the seller is unreasonable. Yes. Sometimes the buyer is unreasonable. Yes. It's a meeting of the minds and trying to get as close to both parties being satisfied with what they're receiving as possible. Yep. Make sure you have a good home inspector, though. I've seen a couple situations where the home inspectors didn't do as thorough as a job as the buyer would have liked. So definitely make sure that you get with a home inspection company that's going to do a thorough home inspection. What is the fastest start to finish you experience for a first-time home buyer? I'm gonna say maybe it depends. It depends. So I've closed loans in 9 days from start to finish, but that's because it started with a different lender. We received the appraisal, and that helped speed up the process. We knew what was wrong, so we could get around that, and then we moved fast because we did a rush. Start to finish, first time home buyer where we had it, probably 15 days. Simply because the appraisal is key, and then you don't want to order the home inspection and the appraisal at the same time, because you could lose your money on the appraisal if you get an appraisal done and then you're not satisfied with the home inspection. So then that's $300, $300 to $500 for the home inspection, $550 to $600 for the appraisal. You lost $1,000. So I like to stagger time in between. So you have the right thing set up. If a first-time home inspector isn't up to par, can I request another home inspector? If so, do I have to pay another fee? Yes, the home inspection is at the expense of the buyer. It is paid up front. That's why when you get a home inspection, typically you're going to get a referral from your realtor, real estate agent, and they will refer. Some refer 3, some refer 1, some refer 2. I would interview them, see how long they've been doing it, go online, take a look at what experience they have, potentially what reviews they have, or just reach out to them and talk to them on the phone. I've never been in a situation or know of where it was a first-time home inspector. I would think whatever company they work for, that someone would be there with them to review it and walk them through the process. But again, it's going to vary from state to state. But either way, your home inspections are at the expense of the buyer. Hey guys, this is the last question that I can answer. I've got an engagement at 8 o'clock, so we got like 2 minutes. But I do appreciate you guys jumping on. If you have questions, reach out to me. The contact information will be below. If you're watching the replay and you have a question, drop it in the comments or reach out to me on my Calendly link and get on a call with me so you can ask specific questions. And I look forward, I love to help you. Thank you guys for coming out. And I'm going to get this question answered for Blair. If a seller had a deal fall through with the previous title company already completed most of the work, can that title work, like the survey, be transferred to the new buyer's title company? It can be. So you could, if your agent talks to the other agent and they find out, hey, we've had a deal. If you had a deal and it went through, it fell through, and you want to see if you can get the title work transferred, have your agent reach out to your title company and have them find out if they can transfer the title work from the previous title company. Title work doesn't take as long as it used to anymore, so sometimes they may just go ahead and order new title work. Well, I had a scenario back in December around the holiday time where the deal didn't fall through. The title company said they were busy and they didn't have time to do this particular closing when we needed it. So the buyers had, mind you, they knew the date, the time, and everything. The title company was a small mom and pop company. They could be selective on what they wanted. And they said they didn't have time to do a first and second mortgage, meaning the person was using a down payment assistance program. So the buyer's agent had to find a different title company. Title company A reached out to B to get the title work, and then they had to do their own, review the title work. We were able to get it closed the day after, but it was actually done. So it can be done, Blair. And in terms of payment, I think the title company A paid B for what they had done, and then A just recouped it back from the buyer who would have had to pay for it anyway. Hey guys, it's been great. Thank you for watching. I've got to jump. I plan on going live like twice in July, maybe 3 times. Hey, do me a huge favor. Click the link below to get in the Facebook group if you're not there. Invite a friend to the Facebook group. Get into our newsletter. And also, if you want to jump on a call with me, click on the link below. And if there's a topic that you want more information on or would like for me to do a video on, definitely do me a huge favor. Send me an email. And also, if you're looking to buy, check out my journal. Thank you. God bless and good night.